Today, I wanted to take a step back and kind of tell you a little bit more about my story and what got me started with helping women entrepreneurs, and tell you more about how I was able to create a life that I am super happy to wake up to every single day. I really want to start sharing a little bit more of my story because every single time I talk to other women that are looking to start their own businesses, they always say that I have a fascinating story of how I began and that I displayed a lot of courage in my choices. And really, I am coming here today to share this with you because hopefully it can help you move forward on your path and let go of that fear that's holding you back. In talking with clients every single day, I realized how many limitations we have as women, especially when starting our own businesses. It is a very difficult thing to do. I think more so for women than men because even though we are advancing as a society, there are still certain duties that we have and certain preconceived ideas that we have upon us. So it does take, I think, a lot more courage. I just really want to encourage you and other women like you to go ahead and create that dream life because you are definitely worth it. Your dream life is worth it and it is waiting for you. The way I got started on my journey, it all kind of happened organically, and I find that this is the same story for a lot of my clients as well. Things just sort of fell into place, and it's a really beautiful way for things to get started, especially if you are a woman in wellness, if you are into spirituality at all, which I'm assuming most of you are because I am, then you know that the universe has a certain way of making things work out in your favor and sort of pushing you in the right direction. And that's kind of what happened to me. Me and my business partner, Amanda, we both graduated from interior design. We never had any idea that we will be one day helping women in wellness build their brands and connect with their ideal audience online. But here we are 5 years later, and I just couldn't be happier than to be doing this. I'm extremely passionate about what I do, and I also just really love seeing the growth in my clients and seeing them take their businesses to new heights and discover new things about themselves and create their dream lives the same way that I did. This is Gwen. She is a big part of this company as well, so I'm gonna keep her here because she is making me more comfortable. After college, we moved to a different city to pursue our studies. I went into business. She continued with a bachelor's in interior design, and I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just never really knew in which capacity or what sort of business I was going to start. But I was in my early 20s and I knew that I wanted to start my own business. So initially, obviously, having graduated from interior design and having worked for 1 or 2 years as an interior designer, we decided to start our own interior design business. And in starting that, obviously, we realized that we have to build a brand and we have to build a website. That's kind of how we got started on this journey. We built our own website and brand. And by doing so, we connected with other people that were building their own brands, and we were asked by them to help them on their journey. I remember the very first websites that we built were e-commerce brands. We built their website, of course, but also their brand and their brand identity. So that was kind of the very first time that we were dabbling in this sort of work, and we found it fascinating. We thought it was so cool as two people that really enjoy everything beautiful, that want to be surrounded by beauty. Just being able to create something from scratch is an idea that really appealed to us. And we sort of separated our tasks. Amanda was very focused on the graphic design part of the project, and I was looking more to help them build the brand itself and thinking of ways to promote their brand and to reach their audience. So that's how we started. By that point, we really wanted to leave the city that we had moved to for our studies. We wanted to travel the world and see other cultures. And we thought that, hey, we do have this side business. Maybe we can turn it into something bigger. We had a little bit of savings and we decided, hey, why not? Let's put all our eggs in this one basket and kind of take it on the road and see where life takes us. And I remember it was a very easy decision in the sense that we just could not wait to get started, and it felt almost like we were starting off our lives. We picked Bali to travel to, and I remember we bought a one-way ticket, really not knowing what was going to happen to us, and Like I said, the business, it was not a business at that point. We really had no idea what we were doing. We had the two projects, a lot of hope and a lot of courage, and we set off with our one-way ticket. We were hoping that, again, we were very naive, right? We were hoping that this business was going to take off, even though we had no idea what we were doing at that point. It was very early days. We were doing a little bit of content. We were doing blog posts. We were posting on Instagram back when Instagram was enough to get you business, but nothing really major. We didn't really have an idea of how to attract an audience and how to really build a brand. So here we are in Bali. We're starting our travels. It's really amazing. Bali is such an amazing place. And the reason why we chose Bali and the reason why we really wanted to leave the city that we were in as well was because we felt a sort of disconnect. We didn't find that the community there was really suited for what we wanted. We were starting to be a little bit more interested in spirituality and just kind of like an alternative way of living. And the city that we were in, that was just pretty much unheard of. Everyone there just wanted a 9 to 5, a typical 9 to 5. And that was the pinnacle of how good life can get, get a 2-week vacation a year and just be satisfied with that. And we really wanted something different. We wanted, first of all, to find a community of other spiritual people that were also into alternative living in a sense. We also became vegan at that point, and we were learning more and more about spirituality, about alternative healing methods. So we really were looking for a community that resonated with that. So when we chose Bali, it was really for all of these reasons. For all of you that have visited Bali, you know what I'm talking about, but it's such a magical place. It's really a place that even today I still call my home. And it's just like such an amazing vibe that it's undescribable almost. You have to really go and experience it for yourself. And I do know people that have went and don't love it as much as I do. So I guess you really have to be a specific type of person to really enjoy it. But for me, it was just extremely magical, and it totally changed the way I view my life. For the first time, I felt like I've experienced freedom, just interacting with the Balinese people and seeing how kind and how loving they are, and just seeing how different the culture is there, coming from a hustle culture here in the West to going there where everybody is in a community and they all help each other, and it really isn't about hustle. Life is a lot more slow. I really enjoyed that slow living. But, we were there, and this business that we had, we weren't really taking it to the next level. First of all, because we were traveling for the very first time, so we were really preoccupied with our travels. And second of all, because we had no idea what we were doing. I remember we didn't have a niche, and I was learning as much as I could. I was reading as much as I could. I was doing courses, watching YouTube videos, reading all of the books about how to start your own business. And I remember being fixated on this idea that we have to find a niche, So Amanda and I were talking, and we really wanted to find a niche. And after a couple of months of doing this, we were kind of burning through our savings. We thought that we didn't have long until we had to come back home, and we really didn't want to do that. We felt like we weren't done with Bali. We really had to come up with a solution fast. And I remember being there and trying to really think of solutions. The whole idea was that we had to come up with a niche, and once we had the niche, it was going to be a lot easier to speak to an audience, because at least we knew what we were speaking about and we can address their specific problems. I received an email from a friend that I hadn't talked to in a couple of years, and she was a therapist. She had finished her studies, she was working for a bit, but she was ready to take the next step and start her own practice. She reached out to us and she was like, could you help me with my brand? And at that point, I was so happy to receive this email, because I thought we really had to find something, and it had to happen quick. And after we started working with her, Amanda kind of looked at me and she said, let's just work with women in wellness. Like, that should be our niche. And at first I thought, that's kind of risky to work first of all, just with women and just with women in wellness, which back then it was quite a small niche. It's very hard to imagine now, it's been 5 years, and I feel like a lot more people have become more open to spirituality and to alternative ways of healing. So it's definitely becoming a little bit more mainstream. But back then, there really wasn't a ton of people doing this, right? So To me, that seemed a little bit risky, but at the same time, I really liked this idea of, first of all, just working with women, but also working with women in wellness, because that was something that we ourselves were interested in. So we felt like we could really relate to our audience. So we picked a niche. We finally had our very first project within the niche. We thought that we're going to use this as a case study, and this is going to be wonderful, and it's going to bring us so many clients, and we can finally start a business that we've always dreamed of, and to work with clients that we've always resonated with. And this was, when we were working on this project, it was December of 2019. And as you all know, things kind of hit the fan in March 2020. So we found ourselves having to leave Bali and come back home, which was incredibly painful and hard to do. I personally was not ready to leave. I felt like my journey in Bali hadn't finished. I really wanted to keep traveling. We had achieved our goal of visiting Vietnam and visiting Thailand, and we were actually in Singapore when we received the news that we had to go home. And it was really, really hard. It was actually a very depressing time, because on the one hand, I felt like we finally found what we wanted to do, and we finally found something that we were meant to do and we were actually really good at. And then on the other hand, it kind of all had to come to an end because of this worldwide pandemic. And I really can't complain. I definitely feel like I'm coming from a position of privilege. Definitely could have been worse. I was just in an island in paradise, and I had to come home. And I remember stepping off the plane, and it was incredibly cold. There was snow everywhere, and there was just very uncertain times. You really didn't know where it was going to go. And also coming back during that time was difficult, because at this point we had nowhere to live. We had just started the business, but we weren't swimming in clients at that point. Everything was shutting down. We could not really go and get a job. So it was really difficult to know what's next. One thing that we did know, and that we both agreed to, was that we didn't want to go get other jobs. We wanted to continue with this business, even though it was really in the early stages and we didn't really know what we were doing. We figured that we'd better figure it out instead of going out there. Working on it, working in the uncertainty still seemed better than the alternative of going to get a job and getting stuck in 9-to-5 cycle once again. Because once you get there, at least this is how it was for me, but once you do work in a 9-to-5, it's like you can't really get out of it. At least in Canada, you have a 2-week vacation and that's all you get a year. And then every week you have to go back and you have to go back, and you can't really pause it, and you don't really have time to think either, because you're constantly stuck in that cycle. And it's also very difficult, or at least I found it very difficult, to work on something else at night when I did have a job and I was trying to build this on the side. We definitely didn't want to do that. We told ourselves that no matter how hard it's going to be, no matter how broke we are, it doesn't even really matter, because this dream that we had, it was worth pursuing in our mind. And we knew that, or at least we hoped, that the pandemic was going to be over soon, and we were really wanting to back traveling. We did not foresee that it was going to take years before everything was going to slightly come back to normal. But at that point, we had the dream and we had hope, and that's what kept us going forward. So we started building more content. We started building our portfolio. We got clients here and there. We found a couple that while we were in Bali that we were working with still when we were here. And then we found a couple of other clients here as well. So we were working on projects, but it wasn't anything major. It was still people within our niche, but it wasn't it wasn't anything major. We hadn't really figured out the brand. We were still trying to market ourselves through the very typical marketing channels. We were on Instagram and we were posting on Pinterest and just reaching out to people directly. I remember I was DMing a lot of people as well at that time. And the really good thing was that people were resonating with our content and they could see our value. What started happening was that a lot of women that I was reaching out to, they were really impressed with the fact that we were working only with women in wellness, which to me really proved the power of a niche and the power of working within a specific niche and solving specific problems. To me, at least, it seemed like a path worth pursuing. I remember it was really difficult because we didn't really have a lot of people that we can relate to. Again, this was during the pandemic. We were all very isolated. I didn't really know, in my circle at least, there weren't any other people that were starting their own businesses, that were building their own businesses. And I felt like my life was really far away. And I left it back in Bali, where I had met a bunch of people that were trying to build their own businesses and kind of build a path forward for themselves. And now I was stuck back here trying to build something, but I really felt like we didn't have any sort of support system. And the only time that I felt good, or the only time that I felt like I was really doing something of value, was when I was talking to clients, when we were working on our own projects, and when we were connecting with other people that were trying to do what we were doing. And I think that to me really solidified this path that we were on, this path of helping other women build their own businesses despite all of the hurdles that are in the way, you know. But yeah, we kept pushing forward with our projects. We kept connecting with more and more women. We were working on a lot of projects, and we were really building our portfolio, and we got to connect with some amazing women. And as soon as we were able to, we bought again another one-way ticket, and we went back to Bali. Now this time it was a little bit different. We couldn't really travel around anymore because it was still pandemic time. We had to stay in the country, which honestly, you really didn't have to twist my arm to do so. We lived some amazing times over there. But at the same time, while during the pandemic, or during the early stages of the pandemic, our business was starting to thrive because a lot of women have decided to start their own businesses. They weren't working as much. They could focus on these different avenues that they wanted to pursue. And we were there at the right time. As the pandemic was dying down, so did a lot of these women return back to work. So they couldn't really focus all of their attention on their dream business anymore. So we weren't getting as much business as before. I think this is something that you are bound to run into when you have your own business, because there's no way that you can have a ton of clients all the time unless you infuse a ton of cash into advertising. A lot of our clients were coming from referrals, so we were relying a lot on organic marketing. It didn't even really matter, because even when we didn't have a full client flow, we still felt like what we were doing was what we were meant to be doing. And helping the women that we were helping, it was just so fulfilling for us. We have had many clients tell us that, you know, they finally found an agency that they can work with that can really understand their vision. A lot of women were telling us that it was just so easy to work with us because they could just tell us what they want. They didn't even know exactly what they wanted, but we could take that and turn it into a brand that they can really identify with. And one of the highest compliments was when women were telling us that we built the brand and they feel like they themselves have to step up to the plate and be as good as this brand that we built for them. And to me, that is such a high compliment, because it just goes to show that we are really there to help women take that next step in their journey. You know, we're really there to help them reach that next level. And it's honestly such an honor. I find it to be such an honor to be able to help people in such a way and to have such an impact. At least in my mind, we have a huge impact, and I hope they feel the same. But the way our programs are structured is like we work with these women for a number of months, a number of weeks, a number of months. And obviously we do have a lot of feedback sessions, and we do have a lot of calls during these times. And during these times, I was able to hear what their challenges were and what they're struggling with. And I always felt like, from my point of view, I could see the potential that they had, and I could see that they had it in them to get there, you know? It's just sometimes I find that the biggest problems in these situations, and this is what we have faced as well, is the fact that you are alone. You build this business, but then you are alone doing it, and you have to be your own cheerleader. When they would start working with us, I would always assure them that now we were a team. We were forming a team, and we could do this together. It was incredibly powerful, because then I would speak to them and I would give them advice on what they should do, or just kind of encourage them to push forward even despite the fear, to let go of the fear and kind of push forward. And then they would come back later on and they would tell me, hey, like I listened to that advice and it was really working. I felt like a lot of the times all they needed was really permission. They had all the ideas, they had all of the ingredients, but then I would come in and I'd be like, no, you can do it, you know? And just having that validation coming from somewhere outside of yourself, it's extremely needed, you know? And I do find that that's something that we ourselves needed, even though we were two. Thankfully, we did have each other and we're working as a team. I don't know if this is a woman specific issue, but I do find that women struggle with this more, but we really do need that validation that what we are doing is worth it, especially in a world that kind of puts women in a box and tells them that you just don't step out of line, just do what you're supposed to do and don't do anything more. And then it's like, here we come as women entrepreneurs and we want to do more, and we feel like we have the capabilities to help others and we want to pursue that. And it's incredible to me because it takes so much effort to go after that. It takes so much effort to pull yourself up and be like, no, I can do this. And then not only does it take a lot of effort to start, but it takes a ton of effort to continue and to push forward and to consistently show up and keep going, all on the promise that one day you are gonna build your dream brand and you are gonna live this life that you have envisioned for yourself. And it never happens really quickly. A lot of people started this thinking that within 6 months, within a year, they could turn this around and have it be super profitable. And now they're a coach and everything's amazing and they have an influx of clients coming in. But that's not true at all. It does take a couple of years at least. Like any other business, it does take a couple of years until you are able to turn a steady profit and get to a point where you are able to sustain yourself with your business, right? And of course, many of the women that we help have a lot of different other challenges that I don't even face, right? Their mothers, their wives, and that just adds so much to your plate on top of building a business from scratch when everyone needs something from you and you just want to do this one thing that you want to do for yourself. So I think, to me, helping women with that and helping them through these hurdles, or even just being there to listen, it was such a motivating factor because I felt like I was really making a difference. I felt like I was really helping. And then on the other hand, with Amanda, we are building a brand that they can finally stand behind. And now they're looking professional and now they can be taken seriously. And what they're doing all of the sudden is not just an idea, but now it's a concrete thing that they can present to the world, and they can stay beside it and be like, this is who I am. This is how much passion I have. This is how much I want this to work, that I'm investing all of this time and all of this effort to actually build something concrete. To me, that was just so powerful. It's the one thing that kept me going, even when the times were tough, even when I was doubting myself, even when I wasn't really sure of what I was doing. Just that thought and just that knowing that I can help others, it kept pushing me forward. And even today, I talk to a lot of people in my city when they are normally working a 9 to 5 and they want to break out of that. And they're asking me, how did you do it? How did you push forward? And then I kind of tell them a little bit of my story and they find it so inspiring. Now, to me, that's not super inspiring because I've lived it, right? And I'm just thinking, it's normal. Of course, I had a dream and I had to pursue it. There was nothing else for me. I had to do it, It was just, despite everything, you have to get there. But then I think from the outside looking in, it seems like it's such a courageous thing. And you don't know until you start. But I think that if you have the drive and if you have the passion and if you can find yourself thinking about this day and night, almost to the point where you know it deep within you that this is what you're meant to do, well, then really nothing can stop you. And I think, to me, going back to the topic of how I build my dream life, that's what it is. That's the essence of it, right? I had a dream. I saw my life the way I wanted it to be, and then I did everything and anything to get there. And for me, again, this dream life means being able to help other women, being able to be their cheerleader, being able to support them as they find themselves in this new business, but also just encourage them and tell them that you're not crazy for wanting this. You are not crazy for wanting something more from life, for wanting to build something for yourself, and for wanting to help people in a way that it hasn't been done before. In the wellness world, a lot of our clients use such specific healing modalities, and they use a combination of different healing modalities, and they all have different trainings. And then you're coming up with this one very specific service that is very hard to find a competition, let's say, but it's very much needed. So part of my dream life is, of course, helping these women succeed, but at the same time, part of my dream life is living my dream on a day-to-day basis of having built this brand for myself and being able to sustain myself with this, and just knowing that there is so much left to do and there are so many different ways in which I can grow it just gives me so much hope, and it gives me a reason to wake up in the morning and do it day in and day out. And it's really incredible. It's definitely a lot more work to have your own business, but the satisfaction that you get, at least the satisfaction that I get from having my own business, it's uncomparable with anything else. And I'm so happy to be able to have that drive and to have been able to find my passion, and having found it so early so that I can pursue it for the rest of my life. And of course, there are many different avenues that I want to take. There are many ways that I can grow this to become more than what it is. And all of these ideas are in the back of my head, but I'm really, truly enjoying the process that I'm going through right now. I think that's another part of living your dream life, just enjoying the process and taking it one day at a time. And now, of course, I have the ability to work with the people that I choose to help and work for myself, have the ability to make my own schedule, have the ability to travel whenever I want. And of course, what comes with that is also I don't have a cap on my income. I get to be as creative as I want. Lately, I've been thinking about starting my own coaching course so I can really work with women for a long period of time to help them grow in their businesses. And I just feel like having the freedom to think for yourself is one thing that is extremely important in my life, and I couldn't be more grateful for having created that for myself. If I think about the pivotal moments that led me to design my dream life, one of them would be traveling, just getting to experience different cultures, getting to see another way of living. That was extremely pivotal. Another moment that was pivotal was the decision to start my own business and picking that niche. When Amanda and I picked that niche of working with women in wellness, that is really what changed everything for me. It's led me on the path that I am today. It's led me to learn so much more about spirituality, about astrology, about alternative healing modalities, about longevity. Really everything that my life is about now, it's because of picking that niche and being able to work alongside other people that have similar goals to me. And this also leads into the next thing, which is how do I manage to balance my professional life and my personal well-being. This is, again, being able to work with other professional women that are also on the same path, that also share the same vision for what life should be like, and that also want to heal themselves. And I just think that I am learning so much every single day, just from working with my clients, first of all, but also these topics are so near and dear to my heart that I can't help but want to know more and go forward with that. And there's just so many different things that I've integrated in my life since. Things like visualization is a huge one. I visualize almost every single day. Journaling, scripting. Scripting is huge for me. I'm a very good manifester when I script what I want. The law of attraction, of course, but just manifesting in general. Affirmations, of course. I listen to different music. I'm aware of the way I speak. I'm aware of how I need to manage my energy in order to have the best possible outcome every single day. So there's so many things that have happened since I started on this journey. This is what I was saying in the beginning. The universe has a way of putting you on the right path, because I just feel like my business right now is so integrated with who I am as a person. I don't see any other way in which this story could have unfolded. So this was a little glimpse into my journey and how I started. Thank you guys so much for coming along. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are feeling called to start a business of your own, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what's stopping you from starting that business, because honestly, anything can be overcome as long as you have a deep desire to get there. I've seen women surpass incredible challenges just to keep going and to pursue the businesses that they want, and really nothing can stop them. There's nothing that we can't do. I really hope to connect with you in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this, and please subscribe if you found my message helpful.